Welcome in to the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. I am Steven Serda, joined by Rocky Magana. Rocky, I'm in shambles right now. I am totally distraught. I feel like I have zero preparation going into this post-game show. Let's party, Kansas City. Let's go nuts. That was legitimately one of the best playoff games I've ever witnessed in my entire life. They had 13 seconds, Rocky. They had 13 seconds. And they somehow got into field goal range and forced overtime. Are you kidding me? Like, what did we just watch? I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to react. Rocky, I am totally flabbergasted. I am totally distraught. I am hysterical. I feel like I'm panicking a little bit, like that wasn't real, and I don't know what to do, man. Oh my God, that was the greatest playoff football game that I have ever seen in my entire life. They had 13 seconds, Rocky. What happened? What happened?
This argument is not open for discussion. I don't want to hear anybody else but Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. I don't want to hear anybody else ever mentioned in that conversation ever again. You know what? Rodgers choked when it was on the line. Brady can't handle pressure up the middle. But you know what? LeVon, when the game was on the line, he said, not today. Super Saiyan. I am Dragon Ball Z in this stuff, and I am going to bring it. And guess what? There's not another tight end like Travis freaking Kelce. I don't want to hear anybody say George Kittle. I don't want to hear anybody say Mark Andrews. I don't want to hear anybody else say another name in the world than Travis Kelce. Because you know what? Not a single other team is battle tested or has the guts that brings it every single week and wins this game. 13 seconds. Nobody else does that except for Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and the rest of this team. I don't care that Mike Hughes fell down. I don't care that Chris Jones wasn't on the field in the most important defensive snap of the season. I don't care about any of that. Why? Because Patrick Mahomes didn't play today. LeVon did. LeVon said, not today.
I am totally unprepared for this. I don't know how you even get ready for this. Like, shout out to all the broadcasters out there who have to act normal and stay professional, because I don't know what we just witnessed. We talked about it going into this game. This was the game. Like, we've talked about Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and like, this was the Bills team that was set up to beat you. And they are playing lights out, look totally unstoppable offensively. And they were tonight. And it was everything that we talked about this week at Arrowhead Pride was exactly like this. This game is not going to be about defense. It's going to be about a few key stops and about which quarterback shows up and makes plays. And both quarterbacks were absolutely insane, Rocky. We're absolutely out of this world. And the Bills score that touchdown with 13 seconds left. Gabriel Davis went absolutely insane and had 4 touchdowns, had the game of his life, 200 receiving yards. We're having flashbacks to Jamar Chase and the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Chiefs were just like, 13 seconds. That's too much time for us. That's too much time for Patrick Mahomes. And, you're nervous about Harrison Butker because he's missing field goals, and you don't feel confident in Harrison at all. And what does he do? He has nails in the moments that matter. And, oh, my God, Rocky, that was one of the greatest playoff games that we're ever going to witness. That was Patrick Mahomes saying, over my dead body, Josh Allen, you might be really good. You are one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I'll acknowledge your game. I think you're a baller, but you ain't me, dog. You ain't me, and I'm not letting you take that from me. Oh, man. I don't even know.
Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in this league, but you know what he's not? He's not a top 1 quarterback in this league. And you know who is? Patrick Mahomes is a top 1 quarterback in this league. When the game is on the line, and you know, when we won that coin flip, you knew we were going to win. Why? Because Mahomes was not going to let the Chiefs lose if he had the ball in his hands. You saw the Bills were terrified to give the ball back to Mahomes. Their whole game plan was to take as much time off the clock as possible and try to score a touchdown. And then they gave Mahomes the ball back with 2 minutes, and he scored in 30 seconds, something like that. They were terrified for the game to be on the line and the ball to be in Mahomes' hand. And guess what? They gave him 13 seconds. There's not another player on planet Earth where you give him 13 seconds and that's too much time. Not Peyton Manning, not Tom Brady, not Roger Staubach, not Johnny Unitas, not John Elway, not Joe Montana. But you know who is? Patrick LaVon Mahomes. You can never give him a shot because if you give him an inch, he'll take a touchdown every time.
13 seconds.
13.
We need to remember that, Kansas City, because there's not another quarterback in the world where the Chiefs scored and, man, that was an incredible play. Tyreek Hill, that was big-time players make big-time plays in big-time moments. And Tyreek Hill, who had been kind of quiet on the evening, said, okay, all right, I'm tired of this. I haven't thrown up the deuces in a while. I got to say peace. Let's put this thing out of reach. But they left too much time on the clock for Josh Allen, who was absolutely lights out in this football game too. Absolutely perfect. And 13 seconds is apparently too much time.
Listen. You know, here's the thing about the Bills is that early in the season, you know, you remember you've seen The Last Dance about the Chicago Bulls. The Pistons and Isaiah Thomas came up with the Jordan rules, right? And the Bills earlier in the season thought they had come up with the Mahomes rules where you rush 4 and then you drop back 7. And then they tried that again tonight and they realized very, very quickly, there are no Mahomes rules. You might catch him sleeping once, but guess what? He had from week 5 until today. That is when we count on my fingers. What is that? 13 weeks, 13 or 14 weeks. 14 weeks for him to learn his lesson, and he did. And you came out and you tried it, and it didn't work anymore. And so then, so all of a sudden, you need the game of your life out of Josh Allen, and he almost stepped up to the challenge. He's an amazing quarterback. Gabriel Davis, amazing. I said in my preview of this game earlier in the week that they were 5 deep in wide receiver, and I wasn't joking. They have an amazing receiving core, but what they don't have is Andy Reid at quarterback and Andy Reid, a head coach, and Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And until you have those two things, there's not another team in this world that when you're going to go toe-to-toe that has a greater chance of pulling something like this off.
It's been an unreal playoff weekend for the NFL. Every single divisional round game came down to the final possession, and we got to welcome in my guy Ron the Show Hughley, who is joining us in this post-game stream. The Kansas City Chiefs advance to another AFC title game. Arrowhead Stadium, you're hosting another AFC championship game on the back of one of the most impressive playoff performances in the history of football. 13 seconds left. You drive down the field, get in field goal range to tie the game and force overtime and win it to your Hall of Fame tight end in Travis Kelce. Just absolutely unreal. Ron, how you doing?
Serda, what's going on? Rocky, first time. I've listened to you. I enjoy you. I'm glad to join this. I feel like I'm hammered drunk, and I haven't drank a thing.
Me too. I'm in the same boat. I haven't had a drop of alcohol, and I feel absolutely hammered right now.
This is the most amazing thing that I think I've ever seen. In my lifetime, if I could just stretch my legs for a second, in my lifetime, I thought Kansas down to Memphis with like 2 minutes left, down by 9, was the most amazing and probable thing I've ever seen as a sports fan. And now 13 seconds. And listen, this city, Kansas City, which I'm born and raised, dreamed of having the guy that fixes all the problems. I mean, that fixes all the problems. They keep going up against him, John Elway. They keep going up against him, Tom Brady. They keep going up against him, but they've never, ever even dreamed to have him. You know what the Tennessee Titans are? That was the Kansas City Chiefs growing up. Those were the type of teams that the Chiefs had. And Kansas City, you got them because Andy Reid sucked tonight. I'm going to say this right now. Andy Reid
I don't know about
sucked. No, he sucked. Situationally, it was clear he's got timeouts. He should have called a timeout to give his defensive line a blow. It was clear the only way that the Bills would get stopped is if the Chiefs got pressure. If they had to cover, it was no chance. And Frank Clark wasn't even getting in a stance anymore. Chris Jones had to miss the final play where Gabriel Davis scored, and they didn't call any kind of timeout. Him and Spags sucked, but it didn't matter because 15, 10, and 87 just picked it all up and fixed everything and fixed all the problems. Andy hadn't had it in Donovan McNabb, didn't have it in Vic, didn't have it in Alex. And finally, he's got a guy that can fix all of the problems that he goes over and does dumb stuff, getting all cute and stuff. Right there, man. You get a great punt return from Tyreek Hill, and you take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands all 3 plays and try to get cute with some sort of option play with Blake Bell. It didn't matter because Pat fixed it. It's unbelievable tonight. Unbelievable.
So let's get into this game. Let's collect ourselves a little bit here because we are just a train wreck right now. And it's hard to try to process what we just went through. And that game, man, I mean, when you think about legendary playoff games, like that game is the legend maker. Like that is the game when we talk about Patrick Mahomes being the best player in football and being one of those legendary, like Brady-esque players. Like we saw Aaron Rodgers only score 1 touchdown in a playoff game yesterday. And Patrick Mahomes showed up and stepped up to the task today, knowing that you need legend Pat. You need everything that this guy is billed to be going into this game. You need him to be that and more. And he just did it today. And I do agree with you that like Andy Reid wasn't perfect tonight.
No, he sucked.
The fourth down punt. I hated it. I think they should have gone for it there. I don't understand it. And he was getting too cute at times where, you know, they had a 3rd and 1 call where Clyde's got multiple runs on the game where he is running angry and hard and picking up yards with ease. And you get a little too cute and you get stuffed and then you decide to punt it. And I just absolutely hated the call. And I was afraid that was like going to be the thing that cost them. You know, Harrison Butker missed that field goal right before the halftime. That almost wound up coming back to hurt them. It's just, man, it's sometimes you run into these teams and these players that are just inexplicable. And Patrick Mahomes is inexplicable. Nobody in football should be able to tie that football game with 13 seconds left. Like just simply that shouldn't be the case. That game is over. And I thought the game was over.
Well,
it got into the field goal range. Like what is that?
I don't know about you, Rocky. I guess Sean McDermott tried to match Andy because, I mean, they just kicked it right out of the back of the end zone. It didn't force any time to come off the clock at all, which I thought, boy, if they can get something on the first play, they got a chance. And, I mean, it's the 3 guys that we know are bona fide Hall of Famers if they stop playing today, came up and made plays at the end of the game. Tyreek Hill with the long touchdown run where he threw up the peace sign at the 20 and knew he was in. Then you follow it up. It's Hill and it's Kelsey to get in field goal range. Harrison Butker, who was shaky all night, finally came through when it mattered. And then that last drive, it was Hill and Kelsey and Mahomes. And they were special tonight. But I just the toughness from this team and everything that happened to overcome things they did to themselves and the amazing play of Josh Allen and that Buffalo team and Gabriel Davis was amazing to watch.
I mean, you look at this game and if Butker just takes care of business, it doesn't even go to overtime. But I mean, honestly, he makes those field goals and he makes the extra point.
No,
that's the
you're right.
Point swing that we need right there, and we win by 1 point. But I mean, going back to Sean McDermott not squib kicking it, I think that he was thinking he didn't want to give him the ball on the 40-yard line because then it's one pass away from a field goal range. But you got to think to yourself, Sean, what's more important there, 20 yards or 7 seconds? Like they're not going to have a chance to run more than one play to set up a field goal if you squib kick it there. Like I thought that Sean McDermott, I mean, he completely crapped the bed on that one. Like that was inexcusable. If I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, I'm completely angry that he kicked that ball out of the back of the end zone. As a Chiefs fan, I think it was genius. I think he was the smartest man on the face of the planet. Listen, I ever meet Sean McDermott, I'm buying him a beer. I'll buy him 2 beers. I don't care. Why? Because he gave Patrick Mahomes a shot. Spags did not coach the best game today. It was not good. I mean, there's no reason for you to have 3 timeouts and for Chris Jones not to be on the field during the most important play of the season. And the whole game, he's bringing Thornhill up in the box and leaving Sorensen deep. Dude, just flip him. You know that Sorensen's good within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but you can't leave him in space. And you know Thornhill can't stop the run. So why are you doing this, Spags? Like you're just making your job harder. But at the end of the day, I want to keep it positive. This is a day of celebration. So I don't want to poo-poo on anybody's parade. So, Mazel tov, Kansas City. This is an amazing day.
I do want to talk about Spags a little bit and the Chiefs defense.
So you don't want it to be positive tonight then, huh? Is that what you think?
I mean, we got to. Okay. We spent the first 16 minutes of the show just raving about what an incredible football game this was. But we do need to try to analyze this a little bit. And I do think that Spags definitely left himself open for criticism after this football game.
Oh, you're putting it nicely here. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
I was ready to call for his head if we lost this game. I was ready to say Spags should not be back next year because he literally called the worst game that I've seen in weeks.
Yeah, it was not good. And especially with the Josh Allen designed runs, which I felt like they kind of worked away from those in the second half a little bit. And I don't really know why they did that because it felt like they were having success. And it seemed obvious when they were doing it too. And Josh Allen was still ripping off 8-yard runs. And it just didn't seem like they really had an answer for it. And then Gabriel Davis just absolutely roasting your secondary is not something I expected coming into this football game at all. I do think that he certainly left himself open for criticism in this football game because you knew what to expect. You knew Josh Allen was going to be able to run the football. You knew they were going to be able to throw it. And I understand that Tyrann Mathieu left this game after the first series with a concussion and did not come back. And that's a huge loss for your defense. Obviously, he's one of your leaders, but Spags is continuing to put the personnel out there that makes me question his decision-making when I know for a fact that Nick Bolton and Willie Gay are your more athletic linebackers, and they belong on the field in those situations where you need to slow down that offense because you need athletic playmakers out there. And Anthony Hitchens is still getting more snaps than I would prefer personally.
That one I can't get. I can't get who comes with the thought of Ben Neiman in the middle of the field there. As opposed to Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. I mean, I know Nick Bolton, and me and BK, we will argue to the hills about this. I know Nick Bolton at a time was not great at coverage. He was not good in coverage. But listen, Ben Neiman, you just can't do it. I mean, you cannot have him in there as opposed to those two guys. It just can't happen. And he continued to do that. Now, I will say this. Tyrann Mathieu absolutely killed them. You can tell just by getting people together. That final play, I believe if they were the final play where Gabriel Davis scored with 13 seconds left, I believe Tyrann Mathieu would have called timeout. I think he'd have called timeout at that point and try to get, because they were completely in chaos, in shambles. No one knew what was going on, and you could see it. You could see it right off the bat. But I'll give him some. I mean, Mike Hughes just got shot in the back on a play and just fell down. I mean, Spags seemed to have the setup right. Can I say this is, and I don't know how you feel about this, Rocky. The thing that annoyed me the most about Spags is he didn't just be himself. That was my thing is at some point, ride or die with what you do. And I thought at some point he was going to do what he did against Justin Herbert. He was going to do what he did against Joe Burrow and just send pressure and say, all right, Josh, you're going to have to make these calls and these decisions real quick. And I'm going to hope we get home and I'm going to take my chances with our corners in single coverage. And if I get beat, I get beat. But what I do is send pressure. And he just refused. Like he just sat back and then like be you. And it was clear to me the only way they were going to stop the Bills passing game is if they got pressure. And I just couldn't believe he just stayed and tried to sit back in some sort of coverage and instead of being what he does. And that is blitz and bring pressure. And he just wouldn't do it.
Well, 100%. And I mean, that's the whole thing is, yeah, I knock on Spags a lot for blitzing at the wrong time. But I mean, I think you looked at Spags there and I think he was coaching scared a little bit because he knew that his secondary was in shambles and that there was no communication there. And he didn't trust Mike Hughes and DeAndre Baker to play man coverage, rightfully so, because they couldn't get the job done tonight. But I mean, end of the day, though, you got to like when Josh Allen was under pressure, he made mistakes or he took a sack. Like you had some success at bringing the heat tonight. So I don't. And then in Josh Allen's career, you've had success doing that. So I don't know why, like you said, that you go away from that. And speaking to Nick Bolton, I mean, Nick Bolton's not the best in coverage, but guess what? He's Ben Neiman good because Ben Neiman's not good at anything. Ben Neiman's honestly, he's not good at anything. But Nick Bolton lived behind the line of scrimmage today in the run game and in the screen game and had, I don't know what, 5-6 tackles for loss, it seemed like. And
it was completely different on the quarterback run game when those two guys were in the game as opposed to when he started putting, Ben Neiman and Dan Sorensen basically as linebackers up there. Whenever they ran that, they couldn't stop anything. And I just, for the life of me, I would literally freeze the film and stop it and say, and I just look at the numbers and I'm like, there is no, maybe 54 out. Okay. But 50, why is 50 ever off the field? In pass or run, ever off the field. And what he's doing, those are the biggest things. The linebackers and then him just not being true to what he does. Generally, we all have said it. We've said it on our shows. Sir, I know we have. At some point, Spags is just going to say, F it. And I'm just going to send everybody and you go deal with it. And we'll deal with Joe Burrow completing the 3rd and 27 on us. But we're going to send everybody. And like, those were my two biggest issues with Spags.
Yeah, I will say I don't understand this snap count that Willie Gay is on right now because we've seen that when he is on the football field, he can be a playmaker. I think he's forced 3 or 4 turnovers this season, and that's it. That's with him not being one of these linebackers that is out here playing like 90% of the snaps or something like that. And he's obviously a playmaker. I understand that he's got some off the field stuff going on right now, but I don't think that had anything to do with his role in this game because it's just not what we saw last week from them. I don't understand their decision-making exactly with Willie Gay because we've seen him have a high impact when he's on the football field. And to put it simply, we just know that he is their most athletic linebacker. Like he is the guy that if you were going to, we even saw them like early on, like using Dorian O'Daniel a little bit to spy Josh Allen because he's kind of a more tweener hybrid athletic linebacker, but that's Willie Gay. Like that's what he does. And we know he can do it well. So I don't understand why he hasn't carved out that role for himself in this defense just yet. And I don't know if we'll really have an answer to that this season, but I want to talk about the offense some more, and specifically, I want to talk about the offensive line because I thought the offensive line was stellar tonight. Like going
Yes.
into this football game and the nightmares that you have about the Super Bowl loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then watching the Buccaneers earlier today lose to the Los Angeles Rams. And I know they came back and they made that a hell of a football game, too. But Tom Brady was under pressure in a way that Tom Brady is not used to being under pressure. And it just kept making me think about that Super Bowl and think about all of the pressure that Patrick Mahomes was on in that game. And so coming into this contest, and I know the Bills don't have necessarily like one of those like top tier pass rushers, but they're deep and they got big physical guys on that defensive line who can give you problems. And part of the reason Patrick Mahomes was so special tonight is the offensive line was fantastic. The offensive line did their job. And so this was the first time I felt like that, like, we're totally validated on that offensive line rebuild. And they've been up and down this season. Orlando Brown has had some issues. And I know you still have your question marks about Andrew Wiley, but they were fantastic tonight. And they gave Mahomes enough time for him to break the pocket and go make plays and just be the legendary quarterback that he is. And I think that's the reason this offense was able to pull this thing off from the start, really, and just put this whole game together. Like the entire season has been leading up to this performance, and the offensive line stepped up and they showed up in the biggest moment.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Orlando Brown Jr. could have had a much cleaner first quarter. I thought he got off to a really slow start, but then in the second half, I mean, he really picked it up. I think that you saw it with the Bucs, you saw it with the Chiefs last year. Any team that wins a championship and then stands pat and just tries to run it back with the same squad, all they're doing is getting a year older. You're not getting better, and the rest of the league is catching up to you. And the Chiefs finally realized that after last year, and they went out and they put some youth in this offensive line. They put some money behind it, and then they had a heck of a draft, right? And now you look at it, and this is the most dangerous Chiefs team I think that we've seen. I mean, if Spags can get his act together, and if we play a clean game, there's, top to bottom on this roster, we have not had a more talented Chiefs roster. I don't think. I mean, in recent memory, tell me a team that's more physically talented than this team in Chiefs history. I mean, that doesn't have Hank Stram as a head coach.
Yeah, listen, they gave him a chance, right? I think that's what you said. Like they gave him a chance to be great. Like as you use the comparison, Tom Brady just at times didn't have a chance in the game to make plays. They gave him a chance, and I know Pat had a lot to do with it, especially early. But they ran for 182 yards, so they nearly ran for 200 yards, and I mean they opened up some really good holes for Clyde and the rest of the running game there at times. And then, like I said, they had great protection, like those plays, those big plays, like the big long touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill to give them the lead with a minute 2 left. He had a perfect pocket, and he could step right up and step right into the throw. So in critical times, they were great, and not just good, but great. And Ed Oliver was one that I was concerned with, that I thought may give them some real problems right up the gut, but they were able to hold that down. So yeah, the offensive line was big. Just give him a chance. Give him a chance to be great, and give those other two guys, Hill and Kelsey, a chance to be great. How about, hold on, man, I'm gonna throw some. How about my man McCole Hardman?
How Jet, baby.
Came out big.
The game of his career. The game of his career.
Big plays. I don't know why he lost his privileges to return punts after he did so well against Pittsburgh, and then they just stopped allowing him to do it. But he was big tonight. That crossing route, that's a dig route that people say, oh man, that's the thing that Sammy would do, and he couldn't, and he took it big, 26 yards on that play that got him into the red zone, where it set up the Kelsey play at the end when Tony Romo went drunk. and trying to sell everybody that he didn't get his feet in. Oh, I don't know if it's over. God, the hell is Tony talking about? Clearly he was in, but McCole Hardman, that run, I mean, I thought he was down for a loss, and he came around and snuck out of there and scored a big touchdown. He had 2 huge plays, huge chunk plays in big time moments when they needed them. So a lot of the extra players stepped in big, and he's been somebody who has been maligned for all Chiefs fans almost, obviously except for me. But he came up big with big plays, got into the end zone. That was huge.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. With McCole Hardman, really quick, he looked like a player who's made mistakes in big moments in the past, and then said, "Not tonight." Like tonight, he was like, "You know what? No, this is my chance to make up for my past mistakes." And he was like, "I'm going to make it up to you, Chiefs Kingdom. I got you here, and I'm going to run as hard as I can." I've never seen him on that touchdown. I've never seen him run so hard in his entire life. He put his head down, and there was nothing that was stopping him on that play.
Well, but we've seen that from McCole over the last few weeks, right? Like we've seen him have impact, and we've seen him get a little bit more involved and have some design things where, like, at one point in the season, McCole Hardman was playing like 8% of the snaps. And so I think he kind of needed that heat check a little bit to get his head right and say, like, we need more from you, McCole. Like, we expect more from you as a player, and we need you to be a playmaker and be explosive. And he showed up, man. And I think I even tweeted it that I owe McCole Hardman an apology. I owe Jaron Reed an apology. He came up with a huge sack at a huge moment in the game, and I have been slandering Jaron Reed all season long. So McCole Hardman, Jaron Reed, like both those guys made huge impact plays for you tonight. And that's what you need in those moments. And that's what was so incredible about this football game, is that it's not just that Patrick Mahomes was special. It's that they got everybody else to make plays and compliment. And that wasn't the case early on. First couple of drives, Patrick Mahomes was just literally carrying the entire offense on his back. Like it was all Patrick Mahomes breaking off long runs was the only way they were moving the football early in this football game. And then everybody else started to step up and make plays. And I tell you what, you were impressed with McCole Hardman, and I was really impressed with Clyde. Clyde was out there running like a guy that lost his job to Jerick McKinnon. And Clyde said, no, every time I touch this ball, I'm breaking off 10 yards at least because this is my job and I am not giving it to Jerick McKinnon.
That was going to be my next point was, have you ever seen Clyde run that hard in your entire life?
Listen, but it's, I don't know if it's competition between the two of them, but it was a great combination between the two of them, because when they both enter the game, there's no telegraphing of what kind of offense you're going to get, because they can do the same thing. They can both catch the ball out of the backfield. They can both run hard on the inside and outside. I think, obviously, we saw tonight and we've seen before that Clyde is a little bit more of a thicker, tough yardage runner. But like you couldn't sit on, all right, one of them is out and okay, this is going to be, straight run. This is going to be straight pass. No, man, they were both really, really interchangeable, and both were playing hard. There was no difference between the two of them, because McKinnon, outside of that fumble, he was able to get away with Wiley covering. Like, he caught a ball on a 3rd down and 3 and just ran over the corner to get the first down. And that was just like, so both of them as a combination is really the best, maybe the best that the Chiefs have gotten out of that running back position, at least to where Williams was the Super Bowl year, if not better.
Yeah. So that combination that they used of them tonight, that's what it's got to be, right? Over, in the AFC Championship game, and if you beat the Cincinnati Bengals and you move on to the Super Bowl, that's what you need. Exactly what they did tonight from those two running backs, because they're both talented and they can both give you what you need offensively. It's Jerick McKinnon is just so much better in the passing game than we've seen out of Clyde, that like that's an element of this Chiefs offense. We've talked a ton about that they've literally been missing for years. And now they have it, and it makes just the regular running plays more effective because you got to worry about those guys in the passing game. So I want to see more of that. I'm totally fine with the way they split it between those two tonight. I'm totally fine with Jerick McKinnon starting the game. And as long as Clyde runs the football like that every time he touches the football, keep feeding him when he is running like that. Like, it was an all-around offensive performance tonight. And then you had Tyreek and you had Travis make plays when you absolutely needed them to make plays. Travis coming up with that huge catch to set up the game tying field goal and go into overtime. Like, that's hey, we need a play from you, big dog. Like, we need a play from our Hall of Fame tight end. And Travis said, okay, I got you. Let's go send this thing to overtime.
Fellas, 13 seconds left from the 25. They got a 49-yard field goal attempt.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It's totally unheard of. It doesn't make any sense. That game was over. It doesn't make any sense.
With 3 seconds to spare.
Yeah. Listen, I was in my living room, like, just completely just dead to the world face. Like, I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know how I'm going to go on and do a podcast after this. This is the worst possible outcome. And she was like, well, there's 13 seconds left. And I said, 13 seconds isn't enough time. But I was wrong. And I'm glad that I was wrong. And I had to apologize to my wife immediately afterwards. I said, you're absolutely right. You're the smartest person I've ever met in my life. But I mean, 13 seconds left. And you know what? In it down the stretch, I think you saw Andy said, all right, busting out my Stallions. I'm riding my Stallions to victory here. Like, I'm not taking any chances. We're going with the 3-headed monster, and we're taking it all the way down to the wire. And whatever happens, happens. But if I lose, I'm losing throwing the ball to Travis Kelce, and I'm losing throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill, and I'm having the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands.
Yeah, I'm gonna slowly disagree with you, and I think Andy didn't have a damn thing to do with that. I think Patrick Mahomes said, "I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna find these two jokers, and that's where I'm going to." And the part about it was, hey, we've seen Pat make some amazing throws. I mean, we saw he made one where he threw it around the defensive end, low and outside to Tyreek Hill to make a catch early in the game. We've seen over the years him make amazing throws. He did not have to make a great throw in those 13 seconds. Like, all of them, they were just, I mean, pretty much for NFL standards, wide open. They weren't tough throws. I don't know what Buffalo was doing. It was wild. They pulled a 49-yard field goal attempt in 10 seconds.
It was, we talked about it all week long coming into this football game. Like, Josh Allen is coming, and I think Josh Allen's arrived. Like,
Josh Allen is here, Jack.
Josh Allen is that dude who's going to give you problems in the AFC for a long time. He is an elite upper echelon quarterback who is going to challenge Patrick Mahomes for a long time in the AFC. But you needed Pat to be special tonight, and he was just absolutely special. This is from Andy Reid speaking with the media after the game. And if you guys are listening to us on the podcast, we will have all the post-game press conferences immediately following the show. So make sure you stick around. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, anybody else they throw up at the podium. So make sure you stick around immediately after this. But Andy Reid was asked about Patrick Mahomes in the final 13 seconds of regulation. And his quote was just, when it's grim, be the Grim Reaper. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes was. It was just, 13 seconds? Okay, I got it. And it was like any other quarterback in football, Aaron Rodgers, even Tom Brady, 13 seconds left, your game's over. And I was partially like, game's over, but also, like, it's Patrick Mahomes. He could do something crazy here, and I wouldn't be so shocked about it just because I've seen him do it before. And then he actually did it, and I was like, okay, I was kind of joking. I didn't actually think he was going to do it, and he just did it. Like, that's just how remarkable of a player he is. It's hard to even put it into words.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rock.
I was saying, going back to what you said earlier, it was kind of like watching that Mario Chalmers shot, that send it to to overtime against Memphis back in the day. I thought that was one of the most clutch plays I was ever going to see in my life. And, thinking back on it right now, I mean, I can't think of a more clutch situation, with the game I like. I guess maybe Jordan's 6th title when he pulled up and crossed over and hit that game-winning shot. That might be the more clutch moment. But other than that, we're talking like upper echelons, sports history, back against the wall, I'm coming. I'm not. I'm swinging until you knock me out. And guess what? You had me on the ropes, but you didn't knock me out.
That is, for me, the best football game I've ever seen. And like I think previously before that it was Texas USC when they played in the national championship game. Stars around Vince Young. You had 2 great quarterbacks, and I mean, before I go any further, I know fans are Josh Allen. You ain't got to put your head down, man. Josh Allen, Gabriel Davis, that crew, they kept coming. They just didn't get the ball last, and they were going up against some psycho that's in the realm of Brady, Woods, Tiger, Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. He's in that. He's just some psycho where he can create miracles, and it happened. So I mean, they were fantastic. They're going to be here again. You're going to see them again. They are going to remember this like they did last year. Like this is for those fans. Buffalo has great fans, and they have been through hell. And this is going to go line right up there with those 4 Super Bowl losses in a row. I mean, this is tough to deal with. But like I said, this is the greatest game I've ever seen before, and this is how you get yourself in some sort of conversation down the line with Brady. Is the moments, right? And I mean, this is going to go up, and I know it's a divisional round. I mean, this is going to go up right up there with those amazing type moments that we'll never forget. 13 seconds, like that's going to move with his career. We'll never forget 13 seconds, and those are moments that we're going to have, and that's how you get yourself up in conversations with the GOATs, and they win this Super Bowl. We'll never forget 13 seconds. We'll never forget, like we did a couple of years ago, him being down by double digits in every game and coming back to win and winning a Super Bowl. Like you won't forget it. And he had, I mean, like Josh Allen, dude, this dude is nuts, man. And he lost this game today. And there's only one, like you feel this way. There's only one player on the other side he would have lost to. And that's who he lost to. He would not have lost to any other team in the National Football League except for the Kansas City Chiefs, because they got the man. They got Ric Flair. They got the dude. He is the man. And I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. Any question or doubt that I had about Josh Allen coming into this football game
Oh God,
is gone. It is totally gone. He is that dude. This is a Peyton Brady-esque type of rivalry, and we saw it unfold in one of the greatest football games that we're ever going to see tonight. Like,
I mean,
just simply, like, there's no other way to put it. It's one of the greatest football games we're ever going to watch.
Yeah, if I'm starting a franchise today, I'm starting it with Patrick Mahomes. If I don't have Patrick Mahomes, I'm starting it with Josh Allen. Like you guys both said, like he is the real deal. Like there's no other way to put it. Like I'm scared to play the Bills next year in the playoffs. A little bit. I'm never gonna, for the rest of my life, as long as Josh Allen's our quarterback, I'm never going to be resting easy rolling in, in a playoff game against the Bills. I'm not ever going to feel like the Chiefs are automatically going to advance to the next round. I mean, I'm going to be excited because Patrick Mahomes is our quarterback, but I think we're going to see a lot of classic games as these two guys' careers play out.
I know a couple things before I jump off here. They got to fix some things next week. You look at the Bengals, and we saw what they did the first time they played them. They got to fix some things, and they got to understand. If they didn't understand already, teams have shown it. Like what the Chiefs did tonight is why teams are scared to death of them. And Buffalo's 4 for 4 on 4th down, and it seemed like they would have gone for them all night long if they were anywhere near midfield or further. And I think Zach Taylor is going to do the same thing with Cincinnati, and if they get past there, I think Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan will do the same thing. So teams are going to just play for broke, and that could be an advantage if the Chiefs are able to stop them. But this is how teams are because of what they did tonight. They're scared to death of them, and they just got to be on their toes all the time. Just, I mean, third down, no, you got another one coming behind it because these teams are going to do it.
Yeah, they've got to adjust a little bit. There's a lot that I feel like they left on the table defensively. Thanks again to our friend Ron the Show Hughley. You can hear him every Thursday with Brandon Kiley and myself on Show and BK on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. Rocky, any final thoughts before we get out of here? We ran a little long tonight. I want everybody to get a chance to listen to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but man, this is a game that this is going to be that game that's playing on NFL Network where you just stop whatever you're doing and just sit down and watch it. And it's going to be like that. This is going to be a game you tell your kids about for a really long time.
Yeah, this is a game that, when you talk about, when you're sitting here years from now talking about the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and telling people who he was, your grandkids, whatever, this is a game you're going to bring up. Yes, they got to clean some stuff up on defense. Patrick Mahomes covers a multitude of sins, but you got to get out the field because, every time a team comes in and plays against you, they're going to feel like they have to score on every single possession, which makes them dangerous because they're not going to back down and they're just going to give you everything you've got. Spags has to have an answer for Jamar Chase next weekend. If you're going to get beat by T. Higgins or Boyd or Joe Mixon or somebody else, you can't let Jamar Chase beat you. Like, Spags needs to find a solution to that situation.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot give up that kind of game to Jamar Chase again. You can't do what you did against Gabriel Davis tonight. Like, you just simply cannot do that if you're the Chiefs secondary and their defense. So we'll have a ton of conversations this week about that AFC title game that is going to be hosted at Arrowhead Stadium once again after just an absolutely remarkable, incredible football game that we're going to be talking about for a long, long time here in Kansas City. Yeah, you got some adjustments to make, but damn, if you get that kind of Patrick Mahomes, it's hard for me to bet on anybody other than him. And it feels like the way this season has kind of played out, it's all kind of culminating into him having that just legendary playoff run that puts him in a tier just above everybody else. And that's what this game felt like tonight.
It's win in advance, baby. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just win in advance. Jimmy V said it, and he was right.
Yeah. So please follow Rocky Magana on Twitter at Rocky Magana. I'm Steven Serda. That's where you can find me. I do want to let you guys know before we get out of here, we will not have an Arrowhead Drive tomorrow morning. I know you guys love those things bright and early on a late night game. We want you guys to check out the post game show and listen to everything that we're talking about here. But tomorrow afternoon, we will have the regularly scheduled Out of Structure episode with Ron Kopp and Matt Sagner. They'll break down every single play from this Chiefs game, and they'll take your questions in the Chiefs mailbag, answer everything that you guys want to know ahead of the Chiefs hosting the Cincinnati Bengals at Arrowhead Stadium and yet another AFC Championship game. Again, stick around after the podcast. We will have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, anybody else who goes up to the podium and speaks with the media after this football game. Please make sure you subscribe, rate, and review everything that we're doing on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. We're still alive. We got another AFC title game. Let's go to another Super Bowl. Go celebrate. Have a drink. I'm about to shotgun a beer in my apartment by myself. Let's go, Rocky. Let's do this.
Let's do it.